Anyway, hello YouTube, this is Chelsea the Destroyer. We are coming back to the spectacular failure of the Star Wars Hotel. How much am I going to get into it today? I think I have 3 hours left on it. So we're going to see how far into this I can get today. How sucked in am I going to end up being? So let's grab your snackies, grab your bevies. Let me know what you're eating or drinking down below. Let me know what you feel about all these things, because I'm going to let you know my personal opinions. And let's get to watching.
To make its features functional. I really love the idea of
I already saw that. Okay, stop. Okay.
C+.
So we stopped where she was talking about like the actual physical room and people putting painter's tape over the fucking lights at night. This is the Star Wars Hotel. Disney made a Star Wars Hotel. It was like $3,000 something a night, or $3,000 something for 2 nights for one person, and then for 2 people it was like $6,000 something, and it only existed for 18 months, and then it shut down because it was a colossal failure because they were terrible at marketing.
For the room. Part 7, the characters. Since this is a multi-branching story, I think the best way to explain it to you guys is just to explain each separate character and their arc. The following characters are the central cast, walking around the ship for guests to freely interact with. Captain Kevin. She is a Resistance ally working undercover. I know she's
God, having to wake up every morning and put that shit on.
Generally trying to help the Resistance, but I'm not really sure what her overall goal is because I'm not really sure what the Resistance's goal is. I think it's something about getting coaxium, but I didn't hear any express purpose for it or like anything to give that mission a sense of urgency. In a lot of the publicity photos, this character's design looks whack, in my opinion. I think because you've got the very fake-looking shiny red wig and the blue skin and the uncanny contact lenses, but in person under atmospheric lighting, it worked a lot better for me. The captain was probably my favorite character. I feel like we kept running into her. Lenka Mock, she's the crew's director, so like the second in command to the captain. We also never really talked to her one-on-one. I think maybe she wasn't free roaming as much as the others. We tended to mostly see her pop up for scheduled story scenes, but I think her character's deal is maybe she starts out neutral and then becomes a Resistance ally, but that was just my impression. I might be wrong. Maybe she was with the Resistance the whole time. Lieutenant Croy is a First Order officer investigating the ship.
Oh no!
This was another of my favorite characters. This actor had such great villain energy.
I will use restraining bolts to disable him.
No!
And succeeding!
We talked to him a lot too. We were actually trying to get the First Order storyline, but you'll hear more about that later. Croy also brought 2 stormtroopers with him. They don't have names, but I felt like I should mention them because they're also actors. I think their dialogue is pre-recorded, like the ones in the theme park. Although they do have a whole soundboard to choose from, so there's still interactivity there.
Oh my god, he's got a gun. Very intimidating.
Look how clever you are. Good for you.
Sammy is the ship's engineer. He's like a bumbling newbie on the job and begins the story as a neutral character and a coward. On a couple occasions, he gets peer pressured into helping the First Order and then feels guilty about it, and ultimately he becomes a Resistance hero. SK-620 is the astromech on board, and they are secretly sympathetic to the Resistance.
Oh, it's SK! SK! He's looking around.
SK, come in here. Get in here, buddy.
SK.
I love SK. SK is a free-roaming droid. You can go right up to them.
I love how everyone treats droids like they're dogs, which I totally get.
And touch them and stuff.
He's going up the ramp.
I don't know that you will all keep him safe.
We will. I would die for him.
I would die for him.
That might be a thing that you don't have to do if you would go back and hide.
I actually spotted the dude controlling SK once. In the grand tradition of theme park robot puppeteers, he's disguised as a dad in street clothes with a bulky camera bag. I'm not showing you this because I think it's a bad thing that I spotted him, but just because it's a little movie magic for you guys, so I hope you enjoy that. I didn't spot him in any other scenes, so I think he generally blended in really well with the crowd and stayed pretty far away from SK most of the time, except for moments in in the bridge where they were worried they were going to run over a child. Gaia is a Twi'lek pop star who's performing on the ship, but the performance is really just a ruse to steal an artifact the ship has on display. The ship is from Old Republic times, and in the lobby they've got a big gem which is sacred to the Twi'lek people, but was stolen by colonizers a long time ago. So Gaia wants to grab it and return it to her homeworld. I think she's also a Resistance sympathizer, or maybe she just hates the establishment. I'm not sure. Wraith Cole is Gaia's manager. I avoided him like the plague because you can tell just looking at him that this guy is the smuggler storyline, and I aggressively did not want to do the smuggler storyline. I'm sorry. That's my subjective taste.
What if you have to smuggle luggage? What if your storyline is smuggling luggage? What if that was the thing that you did? You smuggled luggage, and then they thanked you for smuggling their luggage.
And I was right, and it worked. Mission accomplished. Anyway, he's helping Gaia steal the stone, I guess. Before my trip, I had actually heard some of the Star Cruiser designers saying that there were all these storylines you could explore, and that one of them was a romance.
Do you join the Resistance? Do you join the First Order? Are you a scoundrel? There's a love story on board. There's everything you could possibly want.
And there's this moment at dinner where, in my opinion, there was some sort of a sexual tension between Wraith Cole and Linka Mock. And at that moment, I was like, oh, we're not really interacting with either of those characters, but that must be the romance plot. And she's very by the book, and he's a scoundrel. It's kind of like a Han and Leia sort of dynamic. And my intuition was wrong. We'll get back to that later. Sandro is Gaia's guitarist. He has to learn to believe in himself or something. We didn't really talk to him. He's like that guy at a party who brings a guitar and takes requests. I saw in a lot of media preview photos that they had him in different makeup and just wearing a scarf on his head. But on our cruise, he was a Togruta, so he had that head thing that Ahsoka has. I kind of assume he's always meant to have the hat, and like, maybe they just ran out of time to put the hat on a couple times and they were like, well, we'll have to commit to this look for the rest of the cruise. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird that all the other characters are the same every time and this one isn't. Uani is my very favorite, so I left her for last.
Wait, come back.
We should follow her. She's a Rhodian, the same species as Greedo, so the performer is wearing a full-face animatronic mask. She speaks pre-recorded phrases in an alien language, and her mouth moves, along with the skin around her eyes and her little antenna things.
Oh, thank you. My hat? I think it would look really good on you. Yeah. Right? It goes with everything. I can't wait to see your show. We're going to the 8 o'clock one. Yeah, you'll see us there. Chat with what?
I don't know. I don't speak
You don't speak our language? She's Gaia's backup singer and plays some kind of weird alien instrument. I think her main plot is that she's talented enough to be a star in her own right, but the manager doesn't see her potential. Maybe out of speciesism or something, since she's the most alien-looking character on the ship. Saja is either a character or a group. I couldn't figure out if this character was one individual named Saja or a religious order called the Saja, consisting of like 3 or 4 people. There were multiple characters wearing the same tunic and beads, and I'm like 90% sure that more than one of them called themselves Saja. But in the app, you can get texts from Saja, and then the icon is just an image of one lady, so I don't get it. Anyway, my impression is that these are sort of like the Chirrut Imwe character from Rogue One, who I'm sure nobody remembers by name, but he's the one who's like not a Jedi, he's a monk that studies the Force, so I think that's their deal. I think they're not Jedi, I think they just study it and teach lightsaber training and can move things with the Force and dress kind of like Jedi. That's very similar to Jedi, what I'm describing. Don't ask me how it fits into canon. I don't have the answers you seek. So all of the above cast members that I just listed will be on the ship for about 8 hours per day. Actually, the total length of time spans 9 hours because the performers are taking staggered lunch breaks in the middle, but they're staggered so you don't notice. They also kind of stagger when they send them out, so it doesn't feel so much like, oh, the character's shift has begun. Like you'll notice on day 1, Uani arrives a bit earlier than the others, and I think that's because Uani is probably split between 2 performers with overlapping shifts. That means they can stretch her time on the ship a little longer, and also she can take more frequent breaks because they probably overheat really fast in there. Similarly, SK is on stage a lot longer than the other actors, and I think that's just because droids have much worse labor unions. And then after all those...
Droids have worse labor unions. That's cute. I mean, like, this is a lot. They have a lot of actors, and they put them in, like, a lot of makeup and stuff. Like, that would be exhausting to me. But still, they have like outfits and makeup and all this other stuff they have to put in.
Guys, we have the movie characters. Chewbacca, I don't really know why he's here. Every
Why he's
Chewbacca
here.
story moment involves hiding Chewbacca or freeing Chewbacca from jail after failing to hide him. So I don't know what he was trying to accomplish. Rey, I have no idea what in the world Rey is doing on this ship.
Ray just ran through here.
What?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
She ran out of there and then pried open those doors and ran through.
I know that ultimately she finds a holocron. Spoilers.
Yes. A Jedi holocron.
But it seemed like that was
Okay.
a surprise to her. So I don't know why she showed up to begin with. Maybe she just wanted to take a cruise. Kylo Ren,
Maybe.
I think he's...
Maybe she just wanted to take a cruise. I mean, yeah, I mean, spoilers from the show you can't see anymore. But this is definitely like the fact that it's like, I don't know why any of this is happening. I'm like, So I guess that's kind of the whole thing of like, there's unique storylines, and to get the full thing, you have to continuously come back, right? Is what they kind of want. Like, they want you to have to continuously come back to this super expensive hotel experience to do all of the storylines, so you can get the full story, I guess. But we all know that ain't freaking happen.
just here.
Yeah, I saw Rey at Disney World too. I mean, I never went and met any of the Star Wars people back in the day because not really big on Star Wars, but still.
To kill us. Like he heard there were resistance sympathizers and wants to kill and torture us. Admittedly, seems like a pretty small fish to fry when you're the supreme leader of the galaxy, but I won't pretend.
Yeah, why are you bullying this Star Cruiser? You're on a cruise. It's not even like a Star Cruiser that has like a lot. It's a cruise. It is like a luxury vacation thing. Why are you bullying them, dude? Why do you have this much kind of time?
Kylo Ren was ever a reasonable guy. May he rest in peace. Interestingly, unlike the theme park, this version of Kylo Ren is actually performing his dialogue live through a voice changer. That feels like a little bit of extra effort on the part of the tech crew, which I appreciate, but I don't really see the point. Kylo Ren only appears in a couple short, pre-scripted scenes that seem super choreographed, so it's not like the actor has that much freedom in the performance anyway, and it can sometimes be hard to understand what he's saying. If anything, it would have been cooler to have the stormtroopers speaking through voice changers, since those are the ones you can actually interact with. But whatever. The movie characters do not wander freely like the central cast do. They appear in story moments as like cameos, usually paired with one of the cruise ship characters, but then when the scene is over, they make themselves scarce. So you won't be making small talk with these guys. Oh, and of course, there's me! Since we're living our own Star Wars story, I thought we were supposed to come up with our own characters. I knew I would be filming the whole time, and also that I was hoping to get the First Order story path. So I decided to be Amethea Taupe, an influencer from Coruscant. That's a core world, a wealthy planet, and a political center. I just thought being rich and from there would be as good a way as any to signal complacency with a fascist government. I even brought Skippy, my spoiled little handbag alien dog. See, I made him a little hat. It looks kind of bad, but I made it. I was going to only carry Skippy for one of the 2 days because he's real big, but people seem to really like him, and it occurred to me that maybe if I had him every day, he would be a good recognizable accessory so characters could remember who I was even though I was changing my clothes. If you're not familiar with Skippy, he's a character from a defunct Disney World attraction, and when Captain Keevan saw him, she called him by his name right away.
It's Skippy?
Skippy, exactly.
Yes.
You're a fan of him.
Like I said, we love Captain Keevan. Isn't that right, Skippy?
She's such a little
that's how his
dork.
kind agree. Anyway, having experienced the Star Cruiser, my takeaway is this. It's not really worth coming up with a character. The performers will ask you your name, but when you give an obviously fake name, they look at you funny and make you feel like you have committed a faux pas. All I can think is, even though I went pretty early, maybe the actors had already encountered too many guests who wanted to roleplay to a weird extent. Like,
But like the whole point is that you're supposed to go to this thing and role play. It is basically a Star Wars LARP that cost you over $3,000. So like, what do you mean that they were like, oh, that's not your actual name? Like you're supposed to use your actual name. Then why the fuck am I spending $3,000 to be here? Are you serious? That sucks.
Trying to be the main character or bringing too much emotional intensity to the game. But again, that's just the vibe I got from the frozen grimaces I received when I tried to use a fake name. It's also possible that the actors are being fed information which would be linked to the legal name that you booked your hotel under. I'll get to that later. So anyway, I dropped the character name within like an hour of arrival. But I do think it's handy to bring a memorable prop or accessory as a conversation piece. I like how I'm giving advice as if you're gonna book it. Part 8. The food. As on a real cruise, the food is included in the price, so it's all going to be free. Well, you've already paid. It's prepaid. The only refreshments that cost extra money are the alcoholic beverages, and they have some mocktails that cost money too.
Which I'm going to be honest, I don't super agree with. I think when you go on a cruise or something, if it's like all inclusive or like your food's included, they should give you like vouchers. Like you can have 3 alcoholic beverages for free and then the rest of them you have to pay for. Like you should get some. Oh, this is Skippy. This is Skippy in the back with the little hat. This thing is Skippy. So like I feel like you should get some. Like maybe not all of them because like they don't want you to rack up like a huge alcohol bill. Like I get it, but like some. Like come on.
I know on some real cruises the alcohol is free, but to my knowledge on every Disney cruise it's not free. So this was kind of expected for me. I was frankly overwhelmed by the amount of food. They do a scheduled breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and every
look at these are pretty. These like chandelier things. Those are pretty.
Every meal is all you can eat. Outside of meal times, the bar in the atrium also has a whole separate appetizer menu you can order from, and those are also all complimentary. I loved this cloche filled with smoke, and then they lift it up and it's full of little cheese balls and crackers. They also leave out very simple snacks in the atrium between meals, like yogurt, fruit cups, Parmesan crisps, and then like some child pleasers like cake pops and goldfish crackers. I saw some haters online being like, wow, paying that much for goldfish crackers? And it's like, okay guys, that's obviously for toddlers, but yes, they have goldfish crackers.
I would have eaten the goldfish cracker. I'm basically a toddler. With my palate, at least, I would have eaten the goldfish crackers. I would have appreciated them too. I did actually
eat a couple. But what I'm saying is you will not be hungry on this trip. It's impossible. The breakfasts and lunches are buffet style, and they have these little space trays with squares and rectangles you can slot the food dishes onto. I saw some people complain about the tiny portions on these little plates, and I don't understand that because it's a buffet. If you really like something, you can grab 10. But I liked that they were kind of sample sizes. It made it feel low commitment to try everything. They also have waiters wandering around to take drink orders at the buffet service meals. The dining room drinks menu is different from the lounge menu, but the waiters at meals can bring you anything from either menu. They can also bring you normal Earth cocktails if you don't want any of the crazy themed stuff, but in my opinion, you went all the way to space. You should get the themed stuff. They have a soda fountain with all the soda logos in Arabesh, just like in the theme park land, and they also have blue and green milk on tap. In the parks, blue and green milk is like a frozen milkshakey texture, and because it's plant-based, it separates a little when it melts, which I think is kind of gross. The Star Cruiser versions of the milk are the texture of milk. I'd compare it to like an Odwalla smoothie, a drinkable yogurt. I don't really like frozen drinks, so I way preferred the Star Cruiser version. It's actually what I was hoping the theme park version would be. Flavor-wise, they're the same as the parks. The blue is fruity and the green is floral. Everyone hates the green milk, but I personally like them both. The dinners are both table service and brought out in courses on platters for the table to share. I think not everybody realized this, but the table service dinners are also all you can eat. If you have a favorite item you finished off, you can ask your waiter to bring out a whole new plate of it, and they will. Also, I'm pretty sure the dessert at the first dinner was literally the same dessert you can buy in Pandora, the World of Avatar. I love that dessert, so I was happy, but it is kind of weird that it was the same. One thing that's true of all
it's because it's space. They're both space.
Disney's table service restaurants is that they're really flexible about dietary needs. If you have an allergy, they'll bring the chef.
This is not super true. Well, ish in other countries. In Disney World, in Disneyland, like in America, we're like really like flexible about food stuff. I created a problem in Japan's Disney on accident. It wasn't a big problem. It did get solved, but I learned never to do that again. Like, don't ask, like, hey, could I get this without sauce? Like, I don't want any sauce on it. Everything is pre-made, okay? Like, you just, if there's sauce on something in the Japan Disney and you don't want the sauce, then don't order that thing. Like, it becomes a problem that involves multiple people.
Out to speak with you and make sure you're on the same page, and if they don't have any menu items that can accommodate it, they'll just like think of something special to make. Also, every meal offers the kids picky eater trifecta of chicken nuggets, pizza, and mac and cheese. And if you're an adult with no allergies and you're just a picky eater, you can order off the kids menu to your heart's content. But honestly, the space food had very unintimidating flavor profiles. It would be like, oh, this tastes like a grilled cheese. This tastes like a curry. This tastes like a pizza. It's a salad with ranch. I will say, though, that Night 2's table service dinner had pretty abysmal vegetarian offerings. I said all that stuff about bringing out the chef and, like, he'll make you something from scratch, but, like, it didn't even occur to me that I would have to do that because every other Disney restaurant I've been to, they always have at least one plant-based offering. In fact, that's true at most non-Disney restaurants as well. But no, when you show up to dinner on Night 2, that's very much not the case. Only the appetizer is vegetarian, and then courses 2 and 3 are both only meat options. Like, they have multiple options, but all the options are meat. And I know you're like, why didn't you just say something? But like, I felt like by the time I realized it was kind of too late to ask the chef to make me something from scratch. And also I'm shy, so I didn't say anything. Yeah. So I didn't have any food. But I thought that was very unexpected and very strange. I did see somebody on Twitter that asked for a vegetarian option at this meal, and they said they were just like brought a plate of boiled cauliflower. Even though I didn't say anything to the waiter, he did notice I wasn't eating anything from those courses, and he brought us an extra plate loaded down with Mustafarian bread and cheese, which was so kind. And honestly, I didn't even have much of an appetite at this meal. All the cumulative heavy meals were really getting to me, so I wasn't that bothered. Overall, though, I really liked the menus. On the off chance I had left dinner hungry on Night 2, I could have just gone to the lounge and ordered some of those heavy apps, and it would have been fine. One area where they really went above and beyond is that every single meal had unique items on offer. I thought the lunch on day 2 would be the same as lunch on day 1 because most guests go to eat in the theme park on day 2, so I would have kind of excused them for repeating a menu. But no, all new things. Same for breakfast on checkout day. I thought a lot of people are skipping breakfast and leaving. It'll probably be the same as yesterday's breakfast. Nope. New stuff. A couple favorite items returned, like the pastries and waffles, but most of the egg and meat options were unique. The muffin on the pastry plate is croissant dough filled with a tart.
Those little sausages, I want them. The sausage in the little waffle? I don't know. I want that. I'd eat that.
Passion fruit paste, and was one of my favorite things on the whole spaceship. I wish I was eating it right now. So after all that stuff I just said, you might be surprised to hear that I have a pretty big complaint for this section of the video. I said I have no issue with the food, and I don't, but dinner on Night 1 was a dinner show. And I have a bone to pick with the dinner show. This is the big Gaia performance they've been hyping up from the beginning. I should tell you that a lot of people are mad about the character of Gaia, probably because she was first introduced in an ad that was extremely weird and badly shot and acted. The main issue people had with Gaia is that she didn't feel Star Wars enough, and I'm ambivalent on that. I mean, she looks Star Wars because she's a Twi'lek. I agree that her songs are not that Star Wars because many of them are in English. I mean, her hit single is called Rockstar Queen. I would never have imagined that the word rockstar exists in the Star Wars universe. It barely even exists anymore on modern-day Earth. But once they committed to having a live human singer, they were essentially forced to have the bulk of the lyrics be in a language she can understand and remember. She does have some songs with portions in Huttese, which is nice. Actually, I think Ula Shuka is entirely in Huttese. Also, Uwani brings us some alien squealing sounds for backing vocals, and that's fun. Initially, I was extremely disappointed when I learned that the dinner show wouldn't be a Chuck E. Cheese-esque animatronic band, which would have made the price tag of the whole thing worth it to me. But Uwani does have an animatronic head, so That's something. Some of the song lyrics are extremely hokey references to Star Wars things, like "Baby, let me light your Kyber," and there's a whole song about the power of coaxium. Honestly, I'm in favor of that. I wish they had just gone all in on that concept. Her song Gaia, which is one of my favorites, has a whole first verse where she's basically telling the audience her backstory, being born into slavery, working in the criminal underground, and then becoming a pop star. I love all that.
I wasn't chained to the sun, man. City slumming at the bottom of the line. I ran the streets with the twag, man. Purple stones were the only way I made my grind.
That seems neat.
But then there are other
I deadass would be like, could you give me something with the lyrics? Like, I have to be able to read because I have issues understanding when people are saying things. Like, I might have some auditory dysfunction. I don't know. Something. I have a hard time understanding song lyrics. I need you to give me subtitles. Like, please give me your lyrics so I understand what she's saying. Thank you.
lyrics in that same song that have no place in Star Wars. Singing my praise like a choir. Deep pockets. I make it rain.
I'm heavy rolling. Deep pockets everywhere 'cause I make it rain.
These genuinely sound like placeholder lyrics they just put in the demo when they were figuring out the melody, like they were later meant to be replaced by something more thematic and clever, but then they just weren't. I personally think they could have put like an additional 3 hours of work into refining the lyrics. I think that would have made a big difference. You may have noticed that up until this point in my review, I haven't really been too preoccupied with how Star Wars the whole thing is. To be quite honest, I don't really care about that. I care about how good it is. I like themed experiences, period. This kind of weird, immersive LARP hotel concept would have been interesting to me, even if it was just an unlicensed venture and the theme was spaceship. So all that to say, I was kind of cautiously excited for this dinner show from an alien band. I thought at worst I might be a little underwhelmed, but I like shows, I like kitsch, I like aliens. I did a whole video years ago about how much I love Sunny Eclipse, the singing alien animatronic in Magic Kingdom's burger restaurant. I figured it would probably be kind of irreverent and dorky, but I like stuff like that. And I think on the whole,
I didn't even know Sunny Eclipse existed. I don't even know what burger restaurant she's talking about.
I probably would have liked this show. I say probably because I couldn't see the show because they sat me behind a pole.
Here she comes. Wow. Let's go sing the song from the end. We can get
I can't get over this. I really can't.
Now, I'm not accustomed to.
This would be so disappointing. Like, this would be so horrendously disappointing. I agree with her. Like, these could have been... It's in Tomorrowland? I don't know. These could have been clear acrylics or some shit. Like, I don't know. They might need these poles for, like, support, which, you know, then it can't really be acrylic. But this didn't need to be this fucking thick, maybe? I don't know. Like, they should have had maybe the stage in the middle, something. This would be so upsettingly disappointing.
Sharing the spotlight with dinner?
Dinner seating is pre-assigned. We didn't get a choice in this. The dining room has like a recessed center area where most of the seating is, and then around the perimeter of the room they have these elevated booths against the wall. And those two sections are separated by these fat support columns, which I don't even know if those serve a structural purpose. They might just be for atmosphere.
Okay, like, I'm sure it's fine, but this probably is the worst seat in the house, right? Yeah. Well,
it was the worst seat in the house, and it was not fine. I couldn't see a thing. I was at the very edge of the booth trying to peer out, and I couldn't see anything. My sister was at the back of the booth, all the way against the wall, trying to see around the other side of the pole, and her view was even worse.
I probably would have gotten up. I probably would have gotten up and tried to like be on the at the banister. Like, you're paying too much money for this. Oh shit.
Gaia walked around the main dining area a couple times, so we could a little bit see the top of her head for some moments.
It's hypnotic. It's
Over $3,000 per person.
magnetic. It's life-changing. It's me.
In one song, she even came up on the
Same,
outer
yes.
perimeter and walked
Cute.
past our booth. But for literally 90% of the show, pole footage. I hope you guys like my quality pole footage. Just trust me, there's aliens singing behind that big old pole. Wani is my favorite character and the most whimsical, spacey thing happening in the show, but she had her weird alien instrument up on the stage, so she mostly stayed planted there. There's even this choreography where they're like leaning back and forth, and it feels like they're making fun of me because they keep kind of leaning in view and then back away.
I feel so bad for her.
I mentioned there's one song where Uwani makes alien sound backing vocals in the chorus. Well, I didn't realize she was doing that until I got home and watched other people's vlog footage because we couldn't see her face most of the time. At the time, I just thought it was like a synth noise on the track. I think it's really delightful that she's singing, so I wish I could have enjoyed that experience real time. To be frank, I think it's pathetic that I paid $6,000 to go to the Star Wars hotel, and I sat in the room where this show is happening, and I had to go on YouTube in order to see what was going on. Another guest replied to me on Twitter that was at the same table as me, and she was trying to be very glass half full about it. She was like, well, since I couldn't see from my table, I had to stand up and just go awkwardly, like, walk toward the stage and stand there the whole meal. And that was great because I had such a good view once I did that. And it's like, it's a dinner show. You're supposed to be seated and eating.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier that I failed to book the captain's table because I didn't know about it. So the captain's table experience is basically that you're in the center table down on the floor, and theoretically the captain will come by and hang out with you a bit. Or on different nights, it's different characters. Sometimes I think Lieutenant Croy sits with you for a minute. We could see the captain's table from afar, and it looked like they didn't actually get that much extra time with the characters. I've read that they also got a couple unique extra food items, but that's not a super big deal. But in my opinion, the main benefit to the captain's table is that you're
being able to
positioned at
see?
a table where you'll definitely be able to see the show. So in my opinion, you kind of do have to book the captain's table. Like, it is necessary for a good experience. That's not the way it should be, but that's the way it is. And that makes me feel angry. When I go someplace like this and I know I'm doing a review, I don't have to feel like so much of an idiot when I waste a bunch of money because I know I'm gonna earn it back on the video anyway. So it does lend a sort of comedy of errors vibe when things go wrong. Like, in a narrative sense, it is kind of funny that they put me behind a pole. Here she comes.
I mean, it is kind of funny that they put you behind a pole, but like no one, that shouldn't be a seating option. You know? Like, that should not be an option. So I'm mad for you, honey bunny.
Like, I didn't go on the media weekend. I was probably the only person in that whole room that was filming a review. They really played themselves here. But I have to admit, I genuinely was really disappointed that this happened. Part 9. Choose your own adventure. Okay. Let's get into the gameplay. First, let's recall how this was promoted as an interactive experience where you become the hero of your own Star Wars story. Choose your own team, choose your own path, live your Star Wars story.
And be wary of who you make allegiances with, because the choices you make affect the course of your journey.
And like this girlie going straight for like, I want to hang out with these guys. I want to be in their corner.
And ultimately determines how your Star Wars story unfolds.
And it's your story.
That's right.
It's your story.
And live out all the different storylines. They get to choose who they want to be loyal to.
The story will depend on what you do. Choose your own path.
As a passenger, you get to choose your own path. Do you join the Resistance?
Do you
join the First Order? Are you a scoundrel? There's a love story on board.
Do you want to help the light side of the Force? Do you want to tap into your...
Do you want to smuggle luggage? What if you smuggled luggage?
Dark side. We're going to invite guests to become the hero of their own Star Wars adventure, and you can do it in whatever way you like.
Ad materials showed kids helping Chewbacca or snitching Chewbacca out to the cops and getting him arrested. The possibilities are
Being a
endless.
fed.
That was probably the most advertised aspect of the
I love how she keeps changing what's going on with Skippy. Like, that's really funny to me.
experience, that you would choose between a number of branching paths. As it got closer to launch, it became clearer what those paths were going to be. First Order, Resistance, or Smuggler. I've seen some people say Jedi was also a path, and I would argue that it was not. You could unlock a couple Jedi scenes, but they were tangential to whatever main path you were already on. They weren't their own story track. So first I'm going to tell you how all this is supposed to work to the best of my knowledge. The gameplay is actually split into two halves, actor-based gameplay and app-based gameplay. The small cast of actors are the NPCs for this experience.
I don't know if maybe I'm just old, which, you know, is whatever. But, like, I'm so tired of everything Disney related being so, like, you have to have, you can't just go out and enjoy the ambiance or the experience. You have to be glued to this app on your phone the whole fucking time. Like, like, okay, so, you know, I used to go to Disney all the time. Like, I would do like all of the like pre-app stuff. Like, okay, I have all of our like fast passes and all this other stuff, and now we can just go out and walk around and enjoy and get the experience and like the vibes and like the ambiance and like all this other stuff. Because like I have set on my smartwatch alarms to tell me where I'm supposed to be going or whatever. And yeah, I would pull out my phone and the app if I got like, hey, I'm trying to figure out how to get to, I need the map, right? But usually I physically, this is just me. I like having physical maps. That's something that, and physical schedules for things. Like, so like at cons and stuff, I like having physical things. But, sorry. Hydrate, thank you. So I would like pull out my phone or pull out like the physical map or whatever and try to figure out where I am or the fastest way to get somewhere. But like, being like, you have to use this app or whatever. I'm like, how much do I have to use this fucking app? How much am I spending $6,000 for me and my friend or my sister or my whatever? And how much am I going to be just connected to my phone? Because if my phone dies, what then? Or if the internet sucks where we are, what then? Like, you know?
Non-player characters. Each individual character has their own schedule set in stone, and then there is a corresponding, seemingly algorithm-driven app working in tandem with the human performers, which is why this schedule is so important. The same computer program that's organizing the actors is also guiding the itinerary of the hotel guests. You can interact with the characters in person, but you also use the app to receive text messages from them. So obviously these texts aren't...
Okay, I will give, like, okay. So if it's like, you're getting instructions on what to do through the app, that's kind of cute. Like, they're messaging you. Like, okay. Ah! Hold on. I died. Hydrate again, okay. That's kind of cute. I'll give it that. I'll give that that they're quote unquote messaging you. Guys, I'm drinking. Leave me alone. 4 hours? Yeah. So like that's kind of cute. I'll give it that. Oh my god, Ray!
Person, but you also use the app to receive text messages from them. So obviously these texts aren't really coming from the actor, they're from the app, and you can reply with a menu of choices from a dialogue tree to get pre-written answers. In this way, you can build affiliations with different characters, which theoretically...
Here, you can hear how much water I still have in my thing. Okay.
theoretically sets you on one of the available story paths. I feel like my viewers know that whenever I use the word theoretical, things are about to take a turn. This information has not been publicly released, but allegedly the actors have some way of syncing real time to the data in the app. Allegedly, this may be done via earpieces. I said earlier that all the guests are wearing these little wristbands with RFID chips, so allegedly the characters all have proximity readers wired into their clothing. When you approach them, their reader detects your bracelet, identifies your profile in the app, and then their earpiece can feed them information about you. So we don't know exactly what would be said in these alleged earpieces, but for example, maybe it says, trust level high, and then the actor knows to greet you warmly. They could even use this tech to remind the actors of your name if they wanted to. The proximity readers could also theoretically send data back to the app, so if you spent a long time interacting with a particular character, that would boost your trust score with them and impact your story path. So let's say you've been texting a lot in the app with the AI version of the First Order General. The AI can ask you if you want to help him in his mission. You can say yes. The app can assign you tasks that don't require any actor involvement, like check that computer terminal for me, and then track whether you fulfill these tasks. The app knows the actor's schedules, so the AI version of the General can text you, meet me in the atrium at 4:30, knowing that the actor will actually be there at that time. Then, when you see the actor, his earpiece tells him, name, Jenny, trust level, 80%. And then the actor knows to say, Jenny, you've been very helpful to me. Well done. Thus marrying the two halves of the gameplay in a way that feels seamless on...
Then you should give an option for them to give you a fake name that they use instead of their legal name. Like, you want to roleplay, LARP this shit? Then give them the option.
The user end. From there, the characters you've been loyal to can pull you into unique, in-person story moments to involve you further.
Oh, here's me tricking some stormtroopers into going into the brig so that we could lock them inside.
Day one's schedule is already programmed in for you before you arrive. You'll have training on the bridge, lightsaber training, and be seated for one of two possible dinner times. And in between those activities, you're meant to be utilizing the app and talking with the AI versions of the characters. You may also have interactions with the actors while doing so. At the end of day one, the app checks all your loyalty scores to figure out which story path you're on. It then uses that information to create your day two schedule, which is more personalized and storylines.
So, you have to have a phone that has a battery charge. Like, you have to. Like, you have to have a phone that can do this. And, like, I mean, yeah, if you're dropping $6,000 on this, you should have, like, a smartphone that's able to do all this shit that's probably fairly new and all this other crap. But, like, you have to be able to do this. And I will give, like, them doing this, it's pretty cool. But did they explain that that's, like, a thing? Like, hey, you're going to be... A lot of this has to, like, a lot of the storytelling aspect is through your phone or whatever. So, like, you're going to need to be able to have a phone. Maybe have an extra battery on you or something like that. Like... You know? I don't know.
Specific. So when you wake up, you'll see that you already have mission assignments waiting for you for the side you're affiliated with, and you'll also be put in corresponding story scenes. So for example, if you're on the First Order side, you might be asked to locate contraband cargo and then be dropped into a couple First Order cutscenes, and maybe they even mention the cargo as a reward for the task you completed. Or maybe you'll get invited to a meeting with the stormtroopers, or see the general get a call from the supreme leader, or something like that. Something that makes you feel more directly involved with the story. Yeah. I imagine there are probably 5 or 6 possible cutscenes running for each story path, so the app just schedules you into, let's say, 2 of those per person. Then everyone gets the same finale, which is a big performance in the atrium and wraps up all the story threads. And if you've been a particularly proactive player, there are moments when the actors can shout you out by name, integrated into the finale. That all sounds conceptually very clever. And if it works, sounds like a pretty fun experience,
I don't
right?
She's saying if a lot.
I think so too. Part 10, living my Star Wars story. Okay, so I'm going to be frank, the gameplay did not work for us at all. At some point, there was some kind of critical logistical failure, which...
$6,000 fucking dollars and you don't even get to do your LARP? Fuck that. I'd be like, give me my fucking money back.
Broke every aspect of it. I was continually frustrated the entire time I was there, and I left extremely disappointed. In our particular experience, none of the actions we took at any point directed the course of our story in any way, and I have guesses as to how that happened, but I'm gonna get to that later. So, Here's how it went for us. I knew going in that I wanted to pick one story path because that would be the best way to gauge how well the experience works. They say it's a choose your own adventure, so I would attempt to choose. A while before the trip, I decided that I was pretty set on getting First Order because it had been met with the most skepticism as a story path. And also, Disney is a family experience and presumably motivated not to have a losing team, so I was very curious how they would handle a villain side of the story. So at first when they turned us loose in the ship, I had no idea what to do with myself. They don't really give you any guidance, which I was initially optimistic about because I'm a pretty big escape room enthusiast. And
so I guess like they just kind of turn you loose because they're like, go explore. It was kind of like their thing. And like maybe you'll come across something, which is kind of neat. But like I also get like, this would stress me out. Like I need a little bit of structure, you know? By little, I mean a lot.
You're pretty much always dropped into those cold, and then you just figure out what you're supposed to do through environmental clues. I figured they would probably be using the RFID bracelets as part of the gameplay, and I envisioned there being loads of, like, tap points that you have to hunt for. So, like, maybe if you tapped a panel in the captain's area, you could download a secret file, or you could tap a touchpad next to an item to add that item to your inventory, and then you could use it later. So I guess I was envisioning something like a point-and-click adventure game, but in real life.
We found another purple sea urchin.
Okay.
You know, like the NPCs ask you to fetch something for them, and then you explore a ship full of set dressing details and Easter eggs. Maybe you see an access card glued to a table, tap your band on it to collect it, and then you gain the ability to open a new door. Or you read a clue in a memo posted on a wall, and then text the code word to the proper character in the app, and then they...
See, honey, you have too much high expectations because this would involve them having to do a lot of stuff and plan a lot of stuff. And then also other people being like, well, I didn't find that, so I didn't go in there and now I'm disappointed. Like, you know? So, like, they have to be very, I guess, vague. And, like, they have to just, like, everyone gets basically the same options, the same everything because then it's fair. So, like... You know, they're not going to be like, oh, if you're more proactive, you get more stuff. Because someone's going to claim that's not fair for XYZ reason, and I'm upset. And they don't want that. So everyone, no matter how into it you are or not, is going to have a very similar experience, I think.
Give you your next task. Through that, I feel you could have some sense of discovery and forward momentum. I'm picturing something like, you need the Kyber crystal, but it fell in a crate with the alien frog monster and he's guarding it. You'll need to get the droid parts to trade for the Jogan fruit to distract the alien. And then once you've collected the Jogan fruit by tapping your band on it, you tap your band next to the frog's cage, the little frog animatronic wiggles around and makes eating sounds, and it backs away from a prop of a Kyber crystal, which you can see through the bars of the cage, and then the app is like, you got the crystal. Sorry, Skippy heard me saying the name of his favorite snack. I had to go get one for him. I imagine the kind of gameplay I'm describing would also inspire a cooperative spirit between the guests.
This girl is precious. Like, I know she's like a big YouTuber and like people are like, oh, you should know who she is. I don't. She's precious.
Are you helping the Saja? Have you found the droid processor? Sure, friend. It's over here. That's what they walk like. But no, they didn't have anything like that in the gameplay. They did have an item collecting mechanic, but it was bad. See, the app they had us using is actually an extension of an existing Disney app, the Disney Parks Play app. This app was heavily promoted in the early days of Galaxy's Edge because they said you could use the app for interactive gameplay in the land. They called it the Star Wars Datapad Experience. You probably haven't heard of it because nobody ever talks about it because it isn't any fun. Okay, wait, something's gonna happen.
It did
nothing.
Okay. That was your reward.
It's just so quiet.
It made a little doo-doo-doo.
It's so quiet.
You got $9.
Why don't they blast the volume on this?
You know, in Rogue One, when they have to go out and then hack a panel and receive $9. Do you think anything's gonna move or happen? I'm beginning to lose hope.
It's the same sound.
Yeah.
Courtyard antenna.
Oh, maybe it'll do.
So, like, I don't know. I don't really want to get down into Star Wars stuff because I'm not a big Star Wars fan, so. But I am a Disney Parks fan. Or I was. I have a lot of feelings about them currently, so.
Do something.
Yeah, please do something. Maybe it's just not working yet.
Oh! I got it! Oh, jeez!
all it lets you do is scan
Okay.
QR codes on crates scattered around Star Wars land.
Wait, there's loads of cargo.
So many things to scan.
You'll scan one and the app will present you with a rudimentary puzzle. Then when you solve it, it'll be like, there's a hyperdrive in this crate. And superficially, the hyperdrive will be added to the inventory in your profile. You can't do anything with it, so, you know, that's it. That's the game.
Oh, no, but... Okay. I'm only thinking about my friend Elizabeth. Okay, so my friend Elizabeth is one of those people where she has to complete everything. She has to get the entire set. She has to complete everything. This would drive me the fuck insane. If she found this when I was on a Disney trip with her, the entire trip would be she has to find every single fucking possible thing to scan and collect. And, like, I love Elizabeth, but, like, I don't have the patience for that. Like, not from the degree that this probably is at the parks in, you know? Because it's like, it doesn't amount to anything. Like, you're not getting anything. You're getting little pictures on your phone. That's it. It's not even on your phone. It's in the app. Like, you're not getting anything out of this. Like, just... I guess the feeling of completion, but, like, how will you ever know it's fully complete? Like, oh, my God. I'm like, are you really just trying to be like, here, let's give you other shit to do, because apparently there's not enough shit to do, because, like, you can't get on any of the fucking rides because, like, you didn't wake up at the ass crack of dawn and get into, like, the pre-boarding, whatever the fuck they're currently doing. I have a lot of negative feelings about Disney right now.
It's like collecting virtual postage stamps. So anyway, since the Star Cruiser app is built out of the Star Wars datapad game, they also have crates in the hotel with QR codes on them. So if you like, you may scan those crates. I wouldn't really call this part of the gameplay. It was just something you could do. As in the theme park land, you can't use the items later. They're not connected to the story. And I've seen no evidence that they affect loyalty scores or anything else. There's no find the key, find the antidote, trade this item away to the NPC to get the item you need. It was just busy work, or maybe you could call it Easter eggs if you get joy from seeing small icons on your phone of things from Star Wars. But I assumed this part of the gameplay was just put in to occupy the really little kids who wouldn't sense the futility of what they were doing. I noticed immediately that there are these computer terminals throughout the ship. I think there are 6 to 8 of them total, and I believe they all work the same as each other. They just have multiple so they can be used by more guests simultaneously. But, like, you don't have different options at different terminals, they're all the same. By the way, the terminals are not touch screens. They use a few large buttons that are below the screen. Touch screens probably would have taken too much wear and tear, so that's fine. I'm not complaining about that. I'm just mentioning this because you'll notice in my footage that every time I walk up to the screens, I start trying to slap my fingers against them. I just feel like it makes me look kind of stupid, and I know someone that's been is gonna remark on how I'm doing it wrong, so I'm getting ahead of that now. It's reflex, I promise. I did also use the buttons. It's just often when I'm slapping the screen, that's when my camera is pointed at the screen. My camera is looking where my fingers are slapping. That's how I film everything. I slap everything. You just don't see it because I edit around it. Okay, anyway, moving on. You tap your band first to begin utilizing a terminal, which at first seemed promising. These terminals are presented in story like they're intended for the guests. Like they show the map of the ship and other innocuous stuff. But then there's also a password-locked section of the computer that you're clearly supposed to break into.
Enter access code. Let's hack it. Let's hack it. Okay, what do you think the access code is? Jenny, you have to earn it.
You have to earn it.
You have to hack. But how?
Okay, I found the first thread to pull at, the first puzzle to solve. I figured if there's a password, there's a way to get the password. We must have to look around. Maybe it's written down, like it's on a post-it next to the captain's chair. Maybe we have to talk to the captain. Maybe she uses her pet's name as the password. Maybe there's a clue hidden in one of the plaques next to all these artifacts in the atrium, or a puzzle we can unscramble.
During the... No.
I'm a little rusty. I'm a little rusty.
God. You're just showing off.
Yeah.
I am showing off.
Dedication. During the ship's dedication...
I found out later that that's not the case. According to other players' accounts, sometimes when you tap your band on the terminal next to the computer and try to go in the restricted files, you then receive a text in your app from the smuggler character. He says something to the effect of, "It looks like you're trying to hack into the terminal. You must be sneaky like me. Let me give you the password and you can help me with a job." And yeah, then he just tells you the password. It's kind of anticlimactic in a way I don't like. Maybe I'm the crazy one, but to me that doesn't really...
I mean, that feels like a smuggler run kind of thing. Like, I get it. Like, hey, I don't have an issue with that. I don't know. It makes sense.
Feel like earning the password. Imagine if a video game worked like that. Like you try to open a door, you find that it's locked, and then an NPC immediately sprints over and just hands you
But this is what I'm talking about, right? Because like if there's something that someone doesn't get because they don't do extra shit, then you feel disappointed. Like if you don't get something, you feel disappointed. That's exactly what I was talking about earlier. She's feeling disappointed because like one, she felt like she should be able to have the access to it because she goes and finds it, as opposed to you're on the smuggler's route and they just give it to you. Like, see?
I wouldn't even really call that gameplay. I actually saw some fans saying online that this is how you triggered the smuggler storyline. They were like, if you want to be a smuggler, first thing, go to the computer terminal and try to get into the restricted files. Then you'll get a text from Wraith Cole. And no, you won't. I did that, and that didn't happen. And some people online tried to victim blame me when I pointed that out and were like, no, you have to do it first thing. And like, I don't know, I feel like I did it pretty much as soon as gameplay started. In my opinion, it seems like sometimes it happens, and sometimes it just doesn't. And if it doesn't, you just don't have the password, sorry. This also undermines any ability for guests to work together, like I was saying earlier would be cute.
Wait, what's this? What is this? Steering wheel. Oh! Don't get hit by the car. It almost killed me. Oh my god. Oh, sorry.
In fact, at one point we asked these other passengers how they'd ended up on their mission thread, and they were so nice, they literally dropped what they were doing and walked us physically over to the computer they had used and tried to walk us through all the same steps they had taken, and when we did the same thing, it didn't work for us, so we gave up. I saw a lot of this online, guests confidently telling others the exact action to perform to get a certain outcome, but anecdotally, it doesn't seem like the game works that way. It seems like it's actually a lot more luck-based than many of the participants realize. So we felt we had very quickly hit a dead end, and worse yet, we could see other players around us who had gotten the text with the computer password, or at least had gotten some other intro point to the story.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh yeah, we just hacked in.
Was it hard?
It was easy.
There were kids happily tapping away at the restricted files, and I'm just standing in the middle of the atrium like, what did I miss? What am I doing wrong?
I don't understand what people are doing. Class, it's 4 letters.
Yeah. South. Thank you.
I don't know. How did they get in? I'm so confused. I feel like we're missing something.
It just made me think there was some obvious clue I had failed to find, which was really demoralizing.
It's just like everyone has like deep missions and I don't even know what they're doing. Oh, we're supposed to touch this. For good luck. Okay, we did it. Maybe that'll help.
There are so many points in my footage where I'm just wandering aimlessly, wondering aloud what to do. You'll recall this experience is $2 per person per minute, so just keep that in mind. At some point, having hit a dead end in both the app and the computers, we just kind of started doing laps around the ship, hoping we'd encounter an activity.
Are we missing something? See, people are like hacking and stuff. I already feel behind.
This sucks.
Do you think the climate simulator's still open? Well, I guess it's the same other thing going on. I don't know if there'd be something going on, but I want to go to the cargo room. Wow. Yeah, I don't know what else to do.
See, this is the issue, right? When you have like a lot of technologies and stuff, like shit breaks, technology breaks. I don't know if you guys know about me. My shit breaks all the fucking time. Basically on a daily basis, my shit's breaking. I don't know why. I don't really change anything. It just, when because with Microsoft, there's like a lot of different companies that make shit, and sometimes one of them updates and it breaks its interaction with the other things, and then like they stop working, and that's what I see all the time. I experience that constantly. It's like a running joke. Abby's trying to get me to make bingo cards so I can upload bingo cards for you guys to play bingo on, with my technical difficulties. It's that bad. So like technology breaks, man. I don't know what to tell you. Like, so she's encountering this thing where it's like, these people are telling me what to do to literally get the thing. It's not popping up. I'm not getting the option. I can't go forward. I don't get to play this game that I spent $6,000 to play. And I'm like, yeah, I would probably also be stressed out, freaking out. Like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? Because I'm a pessimist. So it's like, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? Of course this would happen to me. I would spiral. This would make me spiral. And then it would be like, I need to go talk to somebody. I need to go talk to somebody and be like, hey, this is not working. And I didn't spend $6,000 to not be able to play the thing I spent $6,000 for. Did I have a favorite food in Star Wars Land? I didn't. I don't think I ate anything in Star Wars Land when I went. Because I'm a very picky eater, so I don't think there was really anything I could eat. I did try the blue milk slushy thing.
Oh, we could take the elevator. We haven't done that yet.
I should have just taken the fire extinguisher off the wall and started spraying it around. You know, make my own fun. Occasionally we'd see a computer where a kid had accidentally stayed signed in, and we could see all the stuff that had been unlocked for them and presume that probably that represented some fun story thing they got to do, which made us feel even worse.
Christopher didn't log out and he has the access to the alarms. Break access. And I guess you guessed the last one. And he's not into the cargo hold either. Well, all right. I want in that cargo hold.
Other than using them to log into the computer terminals, there wasn't actually much functionality to the bracelets. There's a tap point on the droid, which is fun. I tapped my band on him, but I don't think anything happened when I did that. Also, a lot of Star Cruiser nerds are going to be like, that tap point doesn't do anything unless you ask his permission first, and he likes you, so this is a skill issue. But I did ask permission first. I have proof. I didn't even have to be told to do that. I'm just polite to droids, so there. But anyway, yeah, it didn't do anything. There were also the rooms with restricted access, like the engineering bay and the cargo hold. You would tap your bracelet on the pad next to the door and it would say, access denied. That was very tantalizing because it suggested you could accomplish something to unlock that room, like a real-life video game.
We take a lot of tools from screen-based RPGs and move them into the physical space. So we have literal locked doors. So we know that they're locked in a couple ways. That's an invitation if you're in a screen-based RPG, and also in our experience, to try and get into a locked door. There's something interesting on the other side of that door.
It's actually just like the computer password. After enough time passes, you'll get a text from a character, and it seems like it's random which one, and the character will be like, hey, I've got a job for you. Go to the engineering bay. I'm giving you access, and then you just have access. Also, near the end of day one, we noticed that the restricted files on the computer just stopped requiring a password.
Look, I'm in the restricted systems. I'm authorized now. Wow. We still can't get in the cargo hold, though.
And when we looked, there wasn't, like, anything to do. Like, they showed switches to shut off various systems, and I thought, I guess if you're on the right story path, you might have an opportunity to use that and trigger a cool story event. But we weren't, so it wasn't interactive. We could just, like, look at the menu, but not do anything with it.
Look, I can sound the alarm. Aw, I can't. Oh, see, this is how I would have opened the door. Not that it matters now.
It seemed like the door locks worked that way too. Eventually they just gave us access to the engineering room. And actually the app didn't even tell us that it happened. We had to notice on our own.
I bet I can get into this. Well, maybe it'll just let me in now. Wait, yeah.
It all just felt so arbitrary. While exploring, we would occasionally...
Because if you don't let people in, they get upset. Like, that's why. I mean, like, that's just why. Especially if you're paying that much money.
Run into characters, and we tried to take every available opportunity to talk to them. And just in case our interactions might affect our storyline, I wanted to be polite, but make it clear that we were on the First Order path.
We really want to identify the issue, cut out the rot, as it were, and then let everyone get on with their
I love
vacation.
it. I'm always saying cut out the rot.
That is something you're always saying.
I'm always saying
You're
that.
always saying that. Is that. Do you work with fruit? Is that something?
Yes. Yeah, but I'm also referring to like fugitives and things like that.
Of course,
Yeah.
When I talked to the
That's
captain,
pretty
who I
funny,
could tell was
honestly.
connected to the Resistance path, I emphasized that I was afraid the Resistance fugitives would ruin my luxurious trip, which doesn't sound very heroic to me. We never talked to Sammy, the main Resistance hero, because he was really popular with the kids and he was constantly swarmed.
Are you guys smuggling luggage?
No, Gaia's not here. We just showed up in the atrium.
It looks like you're smuggling some kind of luggage.
No, we're putting it in the cargo. This is the cargo hold.
We never talked to the smuggler Wraith Cole. I didn't want to talk to him because I didn't want the smuggler storyline, but we also just organically never had an opportunity to talk to him. We talked to Gaia and Uwani a lot, and I think they're both affiliated with the smuggler storyline, but we only really talked about Gaia's music, and neither of them ever asked us for anything.
Very excited for Gaia tonight.
Gaia, ¿qué chacha con cuca?
What's your favorite song? Yeah, what's your favorite song?
I mean, I liked her like when she was just single songs on the HoloNet.
I hope she plays Rockstar Queen, her new single. Oh, well, we'll see you. Wow.
I don't know how you talk to her.
I just understand.
I believe
just
Lieutenant
understand
Croy
her.
was the only actor affiliated with the First Order storyline, but we did bump into him several times. And every time we tried to be very direct. We supported his mission, those resistance fugitives sounded frightening, we wanted to help.
If we notice anything, what should we do?
Well, obviously report it to myself or one of the stormtroopers, although I suspect she'll get more sense out of me.
Likewise, we both texted Croy in the app, hoping to double our chances. At one point I thought I was making real progress because the AI of Croy directly asked, "Can I trust you to help the First Order?" And of course I clicked yes. But then he just stopped texting me. He ghosted me. It was so embarrassing. While we were eating
Ghosted
dinner
by
on
AI.
night 1, Lindsay did receive a text in the app from Lieutenant Croy asking her to go to the engineering room right away and scan some schematic for him or something. Obviously, we couldn't at that moment because we were eating a formal multi-course dinner with a show, theoretically. And in my opinion, it's a little weird the app sent us that because, like, the app knew we were at dinner, right? Like, the dinner was at a specific
almost
time
like it's-
and for a set...
It's almost like it's fucked up and maybe slightly broken.
duration, and that was loaded into the schedule before anything else. But I figured maybe that meant the task wasn't time sensitive and we would just go when we got the chance. In the middle of the dinner show, Sammy showed up with Chewbacca, trying to smuggle him across the dining room without the First Order noticing. This was our first direct encounter with Sammy. When he reached our table, we tried to get in his way and get Lieutenant Croy's attention.
No, this is just a normal Wookiee named Tom. He's just...
Tom.
It's okay, don't be scared.
He and Chewbacca did get caught, which was obviously a pre-scripted event that happens on every cruise, but it's the thought that counts. Sorry, I know my footage isn't very good, but Chewbacca is getting arrested behind that pole. Then when our check came, the waiter was like, "It looks like there's something extra with your check." And it was a torn up...
Sammy, to get Chewbacca safely out of the hands of Lieutenant Croy and off the ship, SK-620 will provide a distraction. That is one brave droid. Meet in the atrium.
piece of a secret message, which was very exciting. We realized that the two tables next to us also received pieces of the message, and I thought we'd have to put all our pieces together to get the message, which would be a fun bit of cooperative play. But when we put them together, we realized that it was unnecessary because they all contained equivalent information. I also looked around the room and I think I saw at least one other trio of tables that got these notes. For all I know, everybody got them, or maybe people got different ones from different characters. The secret message turned out to be, weirdly, from Sammy. He was like, "Meet me at 9:40 p.m. in the atrium. I'm trying to get Chewbacca out of jail and I need your help." And I'm like, "Our help? We're the ones that got you into this mess." Clearly we had been put on the resistance path, which made no sense. But frankly, after an evening of non-starters, I was just happy to have any task at all. And it's...
Which means it's not really as cooperative, or it's not really as choose your own adventure as they made it look. Or if there's an error, it just defaults you to this one, you know, which kind of sucks.
sounded like we were getting some kind of exclusive story moment, so of course we decided we should go. But when the time came, on our way to the atrium to meet Sammy, who should we run into in the stairwell but Chewbacca? Already walking around free, and a gaggle of kids around him. I'm not sure if they handed out dozens of those secret notes or if this was just the crowd of kids that always follows Sammy around. According to my footage's metadata, this clip was filmed 3 minutes before the time we were supposed to meet Sammy in the atrium. So we weren't super early, but we wouldn't have been late. So I don't know what happened with Chewbacca. I guess they started early or something. Honestly,
why the fuck would they do that? That's...
must have been pretty early because, like, he had been in the brig downstairs. We were going to meet in the atrium, all walk down to the brig, get him out. But when we saw him, he was coming down the stairs, which means at some point he had already been broken out of the brig, gone up to the atrium, and was now descending again. And presumably in that time, a meeting happened to discuss how they were going to break Chewbacca out. So, like, what, did they start 40 minutes early? But anyway, it seemed like the exciting part was already over. And it was so crowded, we had no hope of getting a word with anybody anyway. So we just headed out. No big deal. I guess we weren't even trying to get that storyline. It just would have been nice to do something. Next, we decided to try following up on that text we had gotten during dinner from Croy. So we went back downstairs to the engineering bay to scan the thing that he wanted. When we got there, we were really surprised to see that the Croy actor was actually physically there. I'm immediately optimistic that this is going to put us in some story moment. So I'm just like, Chewbacca is walking free. I'm sorry, I never liked Chewbacca. I have no reason to keep his secrets. But Croy is just like, why should I trust you?
We saw him in the brig, and then he was walking around. It was the weirdest thing.
I see. You've come here to further the cause of the younglings who've been trying to run me around the houses.
Oh.
No, I
we really
appreciate the
saw
effort,
it.
But you will not get one around me this time.
Wow.
And like, come on, dude, we're on your side. But obviously the actor doesn't know that. It's not really his fault. And obviously he hasn't got a job for us. I figured at the time maybe the actors just aren't fully aware what's going on in the app, but whatever.
It also, if they're doing things off time, like if things are happening early or when they're not supposed to be, and like they're just supposed to ad-lib this shit maybe, and they're just like, he's not, what time is it? He's not supposed to be, like, you know? I don't know.
We can at least do what the AI version of Croy wanted from us. Neither of us remembered exactly what that entailed, so I asked Lindsay to look at the app again, but when she pulled open her text thread with Croy, the text in question had actually been deleted.
What should we do? What was the task in the app for you?
What?
Yeah, I can pull it out. It's weird because it kind of like, I think it like overrode.
Maybe it's because we took too long to act on it, but if that mattered, why would it have sent it to us in the middle of a dinner that it knew we were at? Isn't that the whole point of the micromanaged schedule and the app and everything? So why would it have given us that task if it knew we couldn't complete it in time? I think that's probably another clue that the technology was not working as it should. So with nothing to do, we poked around a little in the engineering bay and then we got bored and we left.
We should do these, whatever they are. Oh wait, we did. We'll do something.
I really felt like I couldn't catch a break all day. Mind you, at this point, the $6,000 experience was already half over, and I felt like I hadn't even been able to dip my toes into the story. Just thwarted at every turn. Even watching back my footage now.
This is so sad. I'm so disappointed for her.
Was secondhand frustrating because I so viscerally remember spending the whole day so badly wanting to engage with the game I had been promised and not being able to. Like I said, I had hoped to be First Order, but really I'd been prepared to say yes to anything a character asked me. But obviously I hadn't been given anything to say yes to. And whenever I thought I was being given an intro into some plot thread, it didn't work out for one reason or another. Not only did I feel like I was barred from participating, I was even barred from watching. By a literal bar. After the characters went to bed and we returned to our room, Lindsay noticed that in the app there's a tab with all the different characters. It tracks how familiar they are with you and how much they trust you. So I would imagine it's scored based on how long you spend interacting with them in person and in the app, and then whether you respond to them positively or negatively. And this screen really explained the day I was having. Okay, so mine looked like this. You'll notice that
But she didn't really interact with Sammy, so why is familiarity high?
my trust score with literally every character was neutral, so despite my best efforts, it was basically as if I hadn't been playing at all. Okay, now let's look at my familiarity scores, which are even more interesting to me. Lenka Mock and Wraith Cole look about right. They both say low familiarity. I was briefly greeted by Lenka Mock and I never spoke to Wraith Cole at all, so that makes sense to me. Sasha says medium familiarity, and I only met her once at lightsaber training, but she did ask me my name and interact with me a couple times, so okay, I guess that feels medium. But Lieutenant Croy also says medium, even though I've been trying to talk to him all day, both on the app and in person. And there was that time I pledged my loyalty to him and he left me on red. My familiarity with Sammy was high, even though I hadn't exchanged words with him ever at any point. Meanwhile, my familiarity score with Captain Keevan was low, even though I'd made pleasant small talk with her at least 3 separate times that day. In the app, the AI version of Captain Keevan actually sent me a text that night saying, "Sorry, I know we haven't gotten much time together today." But yes, we have! What's going on here? When we woke up on day 2 and it had given us all our missions, we had a few different options. We had texts from Sammy, Captain Keevan, and Saja. And you'll notice that not only do those missions not line up with how I'd been trying to play out the story, they don't even really make sense with my stats in the app. At that point, we just had to surrender ourselves to the idea that nothing in the story was going to make sense and try to invest ourselves in the path.
So it's just fucking random. Or it's just busted as hell. It's either random or busted as hell is what it is. So it's not really pick your own adventure. It seems really kind of like a scam and a lie.
We had been arbitrarily placed onto for the time we had left. Okay, so why did this happen? What broke? I have a few guesses. Scenario 1, the gameplay didn't actually work at all for anyone, and it was a big scam. You're all just assigned to a story path at random. With only 3 major story threads, it's possible.
Which honestly is easier for Disney to do. to just randomly assign you.
Possible that for some guests, their story path would match up with the actions they're taking by pure coincidence. The broken clock being right twice a day kind of thing. Confirmation bias would then convince them that the story was a direct result of their actions. They get a message from the Resistance and say, wow, that must be because I told Captain Kevin I was a fan of Princess Leia. But in actuality, it's just what would have happened anyway, predetermined by an algorithm. That would be obviously pretty bad. I have seen other guests with the same feedback as me, that they consciously tried to get one specific path and it didn't work at all and they left disappointed, but I don't have like statistical data on how often this occurred, and I highly doubt Disney will ever release that information, if they even tracked it at all. So it's impossible to really know. But I think if this problem was more widespread, it would have become more apparent, so I'm going to charitably rule this one out. Scenario 2. The gameplay worked for the majority of guests, but each story path had a finite number of players it could accommodate, and so the algorithm was trained to move some players into open slots in the schedule, regardless of their story choices. The idea here is that we were just the sacrificial lambs of our trip, shuffled into open spots to maintain even distribution of guests across all stories.
You would also have to, because there's only so many spots, right? So I think, that also might be possible. I don't know. Because, like, I will say, if it's not really that you can choose or whatever, or, like, I will give you. Because there's going to be kids that do not want to be part of the first order line, right? And will be so upset if they end up being in the first order line. So I guess it probably isn't completely just Disney's randomly assigning it, but something.
Story scenes at the expense of our own experience, but facilitating other people's choose-your-own-adventure gameplay. The idea of this one makes me so angry. Like, I would be so upset if I found out that at this price point, they were knowingly sacrificing the interactivity for some unlucky guests just to keep the game running smoothly. But to be honest, I wouldn't
fully
be surprised
believe
at all
that they
to
would
find
do
out
that,
this
though.
was the case, especially considering they designed the dining room so that some unlucky tables were behind poles. Scenario 3, random glitch. It worked for some people, it didn't work for other people, bad luck, etc. This is my main theory. It coincides really well with what I've heard about the way the app worked in tandem with the actors. I mean, I showed you our loyalty scores, and it certainly appears that ours wasn't tracking anything we did at all. The designers probably programmed in some kind of grandma mode, where a guest who doesn't participate in the gameplay at all and just sleeps in the room all day is randomly assigned a story path in case they want to play later. It seems to me like whatever actions we took in the app or in person, the system just wasn't registering it ever. So maybe the app saw a lack of data, put us in grandma mode, and then randomly put us on the resistance path. I don't know how such a critical failure could happen, and honestly, this one makes me pretty mad to think about too. Like, for an experience that's so dependent on an app, glitches do feel inevitable. To be honest, anyone who's familiar with Disney parks will know that they're extremely bad at building apps and always have tons of glitches. But in the theme parks, the apps just determine whether you can get through the turnstiles in a timely fashion, or if you can book your next fast pass. On the Star Cruiser, the app determines whether your $6,000 experience will work at all in the way it was advertised to, or whether you'll be sitting on the sidelines all day with nothing to do. In my opinion, if this glitch is something that could happen, they needed a better failsafe. Like, I'm just spitballing here, but maybe if the system detected zero input from a player, it could flag that as a problem in the system, at which point a human employee could try to intervene and gauge what story that person was trying.
You know, it'd probably been better, and it would have increased the price astronomically if instead of using the app on your phone, they gave you like a tablet or a fake phone or something with it on there that you carry around. But I understand that, one, those would get broken. Two, those would have to be like massively cleaned after each one. People would steal them. Like they wouldn't want to do it because it's just easier for you to use your phone. But if it's not going to fucking work, then that's also an issue.
Trying to do, and, you know, make sure by brute force that they got put in some kind of story event. Ideally, I think this concierge employee should have been dressed as Yoda and kind of shamble in like a scary suit and be like, no, I must. With which side do your loyalties lie? I'm always just looking for an excuse to do my Yoda impression because it's so good. Having a person intervene would obviously be a little immersion breaking and kind of a clunky solution, but it's better than what they had, which was no solution at all. I heard after my trip that a lot of guests had similar problems to us. One mom that went with her kids said that on day 2, she went to the front desk in tears and pointed out that their story mechanic wasn't working. And then she said the people at the front desk basically just pulled out a tablet and were like, I'm so sorry, just tell us what story scenes you want to be in and we'll put you in those. And it's good to know that such a solution existed, but obviously by the time you get to that point, the experience you've been sold on has already been ruined, because that's not immersive. Also, because of the nature of the experience and the cost of it,
that also means that this is an ongoing issue. So they're like, yeah, just where do you want to be? And we'll just stick you in there. Like, yeah, this happens a lot.
Most of your guests are going to be there for their first and only time. So it's probably going to take them a while to even realize that something is objectively wrong. It certainly didn't occur to us that we could go to the front desk about this. So we were just kind of like,
I probably would have gone to the front desk.
Hey, the game didn't work. The thing that was central to this entire experience, it was broken for us. And we can't get a refund or come back. It's just ruined. And that really sucks.
Yeah.
And that was our experience. I also need to point out, in the interest of transparency, that many of the people brought out for press and influencer marketing actually didn't experience the gameplay. They were given an abridged presentation of the story and then dropped into a play scene. And from what I can tell, they didn't interact with the app at all.
Now, we only get 4 hours aboard, so it is going to be a bit of an abbreviated experience.
For those of you with blue wristbands, you will go to lightsaber training with our incredible Saja. And those of you with white wristbands will meet your group leader for your first activity.
So you're taking on the role of First Order loyalists for this next season, right?
We're jumping around a little bit in the timeline, so we're on day 2, and Lieutenant Croy, who you guys just saw board the ship, has sent us a message on our data pad, and after we visited Batu, we are going to meet him.
We're skipping back in time by a...
Or even, you could have more of these screens around, right? And like maybe your wrist does something when you get a message and you have to go to like the screens to check your message as opposed to relying on your fucking phone. I don't know.
Few hours. You maybe haven't totally decided your allegiance yet, but you've been invited to join in the ship's activities. Now the Saja have more to their stories than what you're seeing here. In fact, all of our characters do. And that's something that our guests can discover, of course, when they're here aboard the Halcyon.
Some influencers did experience the full-length stay, but not all of them. It was sort of a pecking order. Only the biggest publications and influencers with the highest follower counts got to do the whole thing. And not to name names, but I did notice some familiar faces in the background of the videos of the abridged experience who later claimed on their own social media that they did the full thing, which feels a little deceptive. But what else should we expect from a channel that buys subscribers? I can say that. You're never going to figure out who I'm talking about. So I guess my point is, just be a cautious consumer of any influencer reviews. Except mine. Also, for the record, this makes me really angry. Ooh, a lot is making me angry in this section. This is like if you toured a gourmet restaurant and the chef gave you only the dessert, and then before bringing out the dessert, he said, to provide some context, the guests eating this dessert will have just enjoyed an amazing dinner. And then you go home and write a review like, this restaurant is fantastic. After an amazing dinner, we ate a delicious dessert.
There's been an ongoing thing with social media forever where you could always somehow buy likes and subscribers. It's bots to inflate your numbers. I'm sure, like, I don't know how to do it. I remember back in the day on Facebook, people used to do it. Like, cosplay pages and stuff used to do it, apparently. I don't fucking know. I have never subscribed to the whole thing of, like, let me inflate my numbers because you need algorithmic interaction to really do anything. I don't know. I don't really know how it works, I'm gonna be honest. I refuse to spend money on fake likes.
You should definitely spend $6,000 to eat at this restaurant. Honestly, how dare they? I'm just gonna get angrier as it goes, and we're only halfway. Part 11, main...
Okay, we're gonna stop there for this video, but we're not stopping completely. Hold on. So we're gonna... This is part 2. The end.